Okay, hello everyone. My name is Dawn Dixon. I'm the Associate Vice President of University Studies and Educational Technologies. And we're going to walk through our Agree2Degree at JCC presentation to give you some wonderful information about this program, our UNC partners, and some of the things that you can do right now to prepare to apply. And for those of you who are getting ready to graduate, some of the things that you can do right now to select a school within the program. So a bit of housekeeping. I'm going to be in full presentation mode, so you don't have to worry about turning on your cameras. If you want to turn on your sound to ask me a question, that's fine. It's pretty informal. Feel free to interrupt me. If you'd rather throw some questions or comments in the chat, that would be great as well. And I'll make sure to review those. And people can let me know if there's some questions in the chat that they need me to address. So I'm going to kind of go over all of the schools. Hopefully you have an idea of which school that you're interested in. If you don't, then feel free to listen to all of them. Okay, Miss Elizabeth Baker is going to help with the chat. But again, if you'd like to verbally ask a question, feel free to chime in. So Agree2Degree at JCC is an all-campus initiative. We came up with this, I would say maybe about 8 years or so ago to really help students achieve their educational goal of receiving a degree, diploma, certificate, or workplace credential. Basically, at the end of the day, we do not want you to leave empty-handed. We want your time here at JCC to produce a credential that you can take with you. Over the last 3 years or so, it has kind of evolved to include our dual admission program. We started off with 3 schools, and now we're up to 5 UNC schools that are part of this program, and they invite us to be a partner with them. So they initiate the program, and we accept the partnership with them. So we're going to go over each of the 5 schools and what they have to offer. 2 of the schools, the first 2, NC State and ECU, are more your traditional dual admission, where you're actually, informally admitted into the school. The other type of Agree2Degree program is more of a letter of intent, where you're just giving them an initial indication that you're interested in their school with a simple demographic, some simple demographic information. And so we have about 3 schools that do that. So we're going to start off by explaining our A2D core team. And we have the gentleman in the middle who's not quite still on the team, but a huge supporter of Agree2Degree. And I show this to just say there's a lot of people who are involved with Agree2Degree because the senior institutions require information from us to make the program really feel like you're dual admitted. So most of it is where we have to send information about you to the senior institutions. Schools like NC State, we have to do it every single semester. ECU, we have to do it every single semester. And then other schools, it's periodic. But we have a whole team of folks who help with general oversight and recruiting and sharing the good word to those of you who are at the high school. There's all of us kind of pitch in with advertising and marketing. We have our registrar's office that sends your transcripts and your semester grades to the senior institution. And we also have folks that help with academic support to the students, because our goal is to get you where you need to be and where you want to go. And so we have a whole team that's supporting you. So I'm going to start off with C3, which is the Community College Collaboration, and that is NC State's program. And they have expanded their program every year. They just added another school. So they do not offer this program to every single community college. Most of the senior institutions are selecting schools that their students feed already into their applicant pool, or they're in their general geographic vicinity. So, we are kind of in the triangle, and so we are a feeder to NC State. So they do not necessarily go to provide this to all 58 community colleges. So I think, that becomes a privilege actually for the schools that have been selected to participate, and their students have this opportunity. So a lot of people ask me, why are they doing this, and what is really, the point of dual admission? And when they started this, they really talked about how there are phenomenal students that they have to decline every year simply because they only have a certain amount of spots at the school. When a lot of schools start moving towards required residency for freshmen, then you are limited by actually the number of beds that you can provide to a freshman. So freshmen have to live on campus at NC State, ECU, and a lot of other schools, which means that you only have so many dorm spaces available. Another factor is that now, especially with the common application, students are no longer applying to maybe just 3 or 4 schools. We have students who in high school, they're applying to like 15, 20 schools. So that pushes the application to these institutions rather high, but they're limited by the number of spots. So at NC State, they received over 30,000 applications fall 2019 for the freshman class. They can only accept 4,750. So that's a lot of people who got rejected by the institution. But what NC State says is these are phenomenal students that we really want to consider. And we know that once a school says no to you, they decline to admit you, then what you do is go off and look at another school. And they didn't want you to go off necessarily and look at another school. So they came up with the co-admission. So in exchange for you being at the community college, taking the required lower division general education courses that you would have to take at NC State anyway, that are transferable, they will guarantee your admission as long as you finish the degree and have a certain GPA when you exit. And so you will seamlessly go in as a junior. However, they really do a lot throughout your first 2 years at the community college, or however long you were at the community college, to make you feel like you're already admitted to NC State. And we'll go over some of those benefits. But this way, they don't have to say no to you. You come in as a junior, so you're not required to live on campus. And so they can take a much larger class. And that's really the foundation to why all these schools are starting dual admission programs. It's also, quite frankly, a great marketing and recruitment tool for them, because they are building in a steady stream of students who are selecting their school and just taking their gen ed courses at a community college. And community college students tend to be very stellar students when they transfer. They're already a little experienced and already have some academic work under their belt. And so they tend to graduate at the same rate as a student that starts in their freshman year. And so they're very desirable students for the senior institutions. They love community college graduates. So they do a lot of things for the students. Hopefully you can get a little taste of it. Back when they came to campus, but they're still doing virtual advising. So if you're selected for C3, you get an NC State academic advisor. They meet with the students who are in the program every single semester. The first year or two, they were coming to campus, making the appointments with the student, and they would meet They make sure that they're progressing towards the major that they're planning to get into at NC State. They have programs and events for the students. So they had, so you want to be an engineer for students. And that was a webinar with some of the engineering professors, and they talked about what is needed, what kind of careers you can go into, what the admission policy was, scholarships, and so forth. They have tours on campus. They have special events. The first year we all went to a basketball game, all the C3 people throughout the state. They had a big picnic and they went to a baseball game. They really want to do things to make students feel like they're actually an NC State student. And if you're accepted into the program, then you also have opportunities to participate in some on-campus things because you are actually accepted as a general university studies student. So you can do certain things and go to certain places. Nothing where it would have required you to pay tuition, because obviously you haven't done that. They have grown tremendously, NC State's program, in the last 2 years. They got a huge grant from GlaxoSmithKline so that they were able to increase the number of students that they accepted from the community colleges, and they also were able to award scholarships. So we had 2 students last year that each got a $5,000 renewable scholarship to go to NC State for their last 2 years. Both of them were in the College of Engineering. And so, I felt that is a game changer. And one of the students, you really can't see her, she's in the red dress in the picture, Haley Evans. She also won a Goodnight Scholar, which is basically a full ride scholarship. And I remember calling the director of C3, like, oh, are they going to take away her C3 scholarship? And they were like, no, she gets to keep that too. So she had a full ride scholarship plus just a $5,000 scholarship, which I think she went and got a car because she didn't have a car. They are very supportive for of their C3 students. They're advocates. And I think that really makes a difference, especially in some of the more competitive programs like the business school and the College of Business and the College of Engineering. They really feel like that's their role, is to advocate for their students. Okay, so the exciting thing that I am going to be yelling from the rooftop is that C3 application is open right now. It closes on June 1st. So if you really want to consider this, if you are graduating high school and your intent is to go to JCC to finish your associate's degree or to start your associate's degree, you can apply right now to C3 and be eligible for the program. CCP students, they're in a great situation. However, C3 does require that you have at least 30 hours left to complete your associate's degree. So if you went crazy in CCP and you're almost done with your associate's degree before while finishing high school, you're not going to be eligible. It has to be someone who at least has about a year left at the community college. If you already have your associate's degree, then you would just apply as a first year student to NC State. It's not really a workaround. It's not like, ooh, I probably can't get in this way. I may be able to get in that way. It is for someone who obviously has an interest in attending JCC and completing their associate's degree and then taking their transfer degree and then going to NC State about a year later. So what are they looking for? They're really obviously they look for strong academic performance in high school or in your CCP, but they're looking for academic potential. Like you have the ability to perform well at the community college, and of course when you go to NC State. At the very beginning of this, when they launched it, the provost said to me, if I just needed another kid with a 4.0, I got thousands of them. They're looking for somebody a little different in C3, and they want to know your story. and they want to know what's special about you, why, they should pay attention to you or pick you for this program. And so I've had students all through the years, like, I don't have anything special about me. And then when you sit down and you talk to them a little bit about their life, there's things that come out. There's a story in all of us. And you may not have tapped into it yet, but we have some great faculty, especially in our English department, that would be happy to chat with you. I would be happy to chat with you, some of the people in our advising center, to just, talk a little bit about what you want to do. I had an athlete and his whole discipline and focus on, moving, being the best athlete possible. We kind of developed that and talked a lot about how he had he was really great with perseverance and the discipline to really hone his craft as an athlete. And, he had a really nice essay out of that. So it is a 500-word essay. I mean, that's not, huge. Not, you're not writing 9 pages or anything like that. But so start thinking about that if you're interested in NC State. That is required for their application.
Ms. Dixon, I'm sorry to interrupt. We have a question from the chat.
Say that again.
We have a question in the chat from Aaron. Aaron would like to know if NC State decides who gets into C3 or if JCC has any input into who gets chosen for C3.
NC State has the final say. They select the people because these are people they're admitting into their school. They do ask us to do what I will call a quote unquote endorsement. So what they do is send me the list of all the applicants. And if there's anything that and I say I because it's basically me, if there's anything that I want to include about the student, obviously I don't know every single student. So sometimes I just put NA. That's not a bad thing that it's NA. And sometimes we put things that are concern. I will say we did not give an endorsement to one person and they picked that person anyway. So, and that was fine. And I said, it's completely your decision. And they wanted to pick that person. And they did. So I just add things, especially if I know them through CCP or have heard of them. They contact me a lot with questions or, things like that. If their name sounds familiar, I'll say, they came to my virtual session and asked a lot of questions, or I know, XYZ, because sometimes you get to know people through email and questions, you just start gathering bits and pieces about your life. But at the end of the day, it is NC State's decision. Okay, and I will say, with all honesty, number one, this is a great time to go for C3 because of the pandemic. Their applications are coming in a little slow. So I think it's an awesome time if you want to go for NC State to get in. I will say that they have given us more and more, us meaning JCC, more and more students every single year. And we're like opening our arms. We'll take as many students as they select. It is generally the first year they took every single person that finished the application. And so as we got close to the deadline, I literally did everything except go to students' houses to say, where is your application? And it was devastating to me that some students didn't get selected simply because they just didn't finish it. So that's why I put completion and compliance. Finish the application if you want to be considered. It is an intuitive system. It will send you a gazillion emails reminding you that something is missing. Pay attention and read the directions carefully because compliance is another thing. So if it says upload your transcript and it will only take a DOC Word document or a PDF or a JPEG, don't try to scan and send something and it has another format because it will upload, but the system will take it as you didn't do it because you didn't do it in the correct format. And those are the things that as high school students or people interested in these programs, this is what elevates you, your experience in college. These are the things that you need to now pay more attention to because that will be the thing that denies you an opportunity simply because you didn't follow directions. So completion and compliance is very important. We do tons of things to remind students, to ask them if they have any, do they have any questions. The first year I had a student, he's like, I don't have anybody to get a letter of recommendation. That was a first year requirement. They nixed that after the first year. And I'm like, dude, you don't know anyone who can fill out this little quick letter of recommendation. I could do it because not fair to do for one and not for the other one. I'm like, go knock on your neighbor's door or whatever. And he just did. He was just like, I don't know anyone. And so he didn't get in simply because he didn't submit that. So we're here to support and assist you. But, there are some things that's just simply on you as a student that you have to complete things and you have to be in compliance, follow direction. They do verification, because they will only accept students who are in college transfer. So that's associate in arts, associate in science, or associate in engineering. They also look for people, there are certain degrees that they don't feel match with NC State. So if you want to do studio arts at NC State, they don't recommend C3 for that, because the studio arts admission process is quite extensive. And so that's a little problematic to go through C3. Number two, they need you to know that while they require you to maintain a 3.0, if you are interested in competitive programs, getting into C3 does not guarantee that you will be in competitive programs. And it might surprise you, because a lot of people might think that the College of Engineering is the most competitive program at NC State, but it's not. So even though I can't see you, does someone want to throw in the chat what you think the most competitive program is at NC State? Any chat guesses, Ms. Baker?
No chat guesses yet, but I'll throw in one. I think textiles.
Textiles, okay. Anyone else want to guess?
We've got engineering was one, veterinary medicine.
Oh, okay. No, the most competitive program, good guesses, is actually the School of Business. And that is because it is very small. So it's competitive because they don't take large numbers of students. So they take more in engineering and so forth. So it's very selective. And I learned that going through this program. So I'm not gonna pop into the websites because it gets real dicey in Zoom, going out of Zoom basically and coming back in. But there is on my signature, as well as on our JCC webpage, if you put in dual admission, our webpage comes out and we connect. We have the links for every single school. All you have to do is click on the school and it takes you for more information. And within their page, it takes you to how to apply. So as I said, it's open right now in June. They do rolling admission. So it'll probably be about 4 weeks before they would let you know, because they have to do things with admissions, and then they send the list to us and so forth. So I would encourage you to check that out and be attentive to that to the deadline if you're interested in NC State.
Ms. Dixon, we do have a question in the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the C3 program only for high school students to apply for, or is this also for students who are finishing their first year at JCC? That question is from Abby.
Yes, Abby, great question. Thanks for keeping me on point. It is also for JCC current students. So if spring was your first semester or you just finished your first year at JCC, you are absolutely eligible for C3. And they actually want more of our current JCC students, so it doesn't become just this first year high school program. They are looking for a diverse applicant pool. We had non-traditional students the first year, older students who did this. So absolutely, as long as you have about a year to go when you apply, you are eligible.
I have a
Okay, I
question.
will let you know that NC State does check your GPA every single semester. You have to maintain a 3.0. If you do not, you will get, and we'll go over that a little bit at the end. We're here to support you and figure stuff out. They don't immediately kick you out, but you can't have every single semester not meeting the GPA and expect to stay into the program. So they kind of give you a warning the second semester. They expect you to pull it up. And if you don't do it the second semester, then there's a conversation after that. Okay.
We had somebody else chiming in with a question. Please go ahead.
So I take CCP classes. Can I do the C3 right now, or I have to wait for 1 year?
Are you a high school senior?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. If you're graduating in May, then you can apply for C3 before June 1st.
Okay, thank you. And can I apply, like my major can be a business, or do you think it's gonna be hard for me to they accept me?
No. Remember, I said that C3, the people who administer C3 are real advocates. If you get into the program, they will work really hard to help you get into the School of Business. And we have several students in the School of Business. They really advocate for their students.
Okay, and you have to have 3.0 GPA, or it can be lower.
You have to show decent academic performance in high school, because you have to send your high school transcript. And then if you're in CCP, you have to send your JCC transcript that shows your grades in the CCP classes. But then once you start at JCC, they expect you to maintain a 3.0 every semester.
Okay, and Associate of Science, is that gonna work, or does
That will work, absolutely. Any of the college transfer, Associate in Arts, Associate in Science, Associate in Engineering.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anything
And we've
else?
got one. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We've got one question from Lainey, who actually, this question is about UNCW, but I think it applies to probably every college. When a
Okay.
student is accepted and they complete their letter of intent, does the college reach back out to them? And
Yes.
about how long does that take?
UNCW they've had a lot of transition with their admission staff, but it should be, it goes into a database. I just sent in someone's letter of intent. They actually have an electronic, it's fillable online now. And so you get almost an automatic email, like, thank you for your submission. And basically it puts them in their kind of marketing database. So they'll start sending you information as a prospective student, events and activities, deadlines, reminders, and so forth. And then once you get, because on the form, you put your anticipated date of transfer. Once you get closer, they'll start talking to you about something called Apply on the Fly, which is a free way to apply to UNCW for the Pathway to Promise people. That brings up a very good point. One of the great things about these dual admission programs is that they waive the application fee to the school. So NC State has one of the highest. So application fees for a transfer student, it's $85. And I actually think it's more if you're a freshman applying to be a freshman student. So you do not have to pay anything to apply to C3. It's completely free. And all of the other schools waive their application fee as well for their dual admission program. So that's a bonus to you right out the gate. All right. So let's move on to Pirate Promise, unless anyone had another question, but at the end we'll ask for questions again. Pirate Promise is the name of ECU's guaranteed admission program for qualified students. And so we'll go over the same thing. A lot of, applications, 20,000 applications, only about 4,100 slots. So they're in line with NC State in saying we don't want to say no to some of the great students that are interested in our school. And these institutions are making a big splash with these programs. This ECU brought the football bus up. They brought tons of people to talk to students, did presentations about dual admission. They do the same kind of thing with a lot of events and activities for the Pirate Promise students at ECU, they actually had a Pirate Promise student that wanted to be in the band, and they like worked some magic and allowed them, I don't know if they were officially in the band like game day, but that student was allowed to like work out with the band and do all these sorts of things. And so they're really, you know, working very hard to make students feel like they're part of the community in dual admission. So they are looking for, of course, academic potential and previous performance in your high school or at JCC. They actually, unlike the other programs, they open it up to a high school junior or senior, but you must be in CCP. So you have to be taking CCP classes, but at that point, you can apply to Pirate Promise and be accepted. And so if you just know you always want to go to ECU, and we had this, one of our other ADPs, her daughter always wanted to go to CCP. She applied as a junior and she kept doing her CCP stuff. She finished, graduated high school, came to JCC, finished up a year, and now she's at ECU because that was the only school she wanted to go to. So if that's the case and you know that in your junior year in high school, then you can apply for Pirate Promise, but you have to be in CCP. They do verify every single semester. And I will say that ECU is a lot more strict than NC State on, you know, your GPA. You have to be in the correct major. If you applied in your high school and we say, oh no, they're not in CCP, then they do not pick you. So they do that every single semester on the students who apply, and they also verify the students who are currently in the program, especially are you carrying a full load, which I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. They all require you to be a full-time student. So you can't be in C3 or ECU and just take like one JCC class. You have to be a full-time student, which is 12 credit hours, which generally might be about 4 to 5 classes. And so they verify that every semester. So we have students that sometimes they stop out and they come back in, but when you stop out and ECU verifies you, then we have to say not enrolled. And so then they may send you an email saying, you know, you have been removed from the program. So what they're looking for is to get you to ECU. So they kind of want you to only be at JCC for about another year before you start coming to their school for full-time enrollment. They have a very easy to fee waived application. You create an ECU account. All of these schools, you know, not all of them, ECU and NC State. I mean, you're really like dual admission. You have an NC State email address, you have an ECU email address, and they do not email you to anything else because that's what they email. That's the email they use for students. So it does become something else you have to, you know, manage, but that's the goal of being in the dual admission program. So they also provide you with academic advisors and keep you on track and have the same restriction that although you might be accepted to Pirate Promise, that's not a guarantee that you would get into a competitive program like engineering or nursing at ECU. So you have to keep that in mind. If you need to be a stellar student to get into those programs. So just because they request a 2.5 for general admission, a 2.5 is not going to get you into the College of Engineering. It's not going to get you into the School of Nursing at ECU. So you still have to be that top student if you want to go into these competitive programs. Again, you can go to our dual admission page, and we have all the links that will take you to all of the web pages at the universities, and they have directions on how to apply. ECU is currently closed. They do their application in segments. So they do about 3 per year. So their application will open up again on August 15th. And it will run until October 15th or so. Then they close it, and then they go through all the applications, and then they verify with us, and then they admit their students. So that it's about 6 weeks in between each segment that it takes them to kind of accept everyone, and then they'll reopen the application again, which will probably be around January, and then they'll do it maybe until March, and then they close it, admit everyone, and then they'll reopen it again. So right now it's currently closed, but if you're interested in ECU, the application reopens in August. Any questions or comments? Okay, the next one is the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. And the following schools that I'm going to go over, these are schools that only require a letter of intent, which basically puts you in a database. And then when you get closer to graduating from JCC, you will have to fill out the official school application, like the University UNCW application. Their program is called Apply on the Fly to fill out your application, and they give you like a voucher so that you do not have to pay for it. But it is the full UNCW application, whereas ECU and NC State have a special application for their dual admission people, which is far less stuff that you have to fill out. So UNCW makes you fill out the same application that everybody else has to fill out. They just give you a fee waiver for that. Again, another school with record number of applications coming in. They had over 11,000, for the slots that they have available. They are looking strictly for a college transfer student. So you would have to currently be a JCC student if you're in high school and you know you want to do this program. For all of them, you have to make the decision that you will become a JCC student and complete your degree. This is not for people who just want to do one semester and then you think you can transfer. You can do that, but that's a completely different program. You just have to go in as a regular transfer student, pay the transfer application, and get accepted. These are for students who plan to transfer after completing their college transfer degree. They also look for academic potential, and these schools are getting more competitive. So I do think that this is a great opportunity to make yourself more competitive at JCC if you need that little bit of time to, really work on your academics and be a strong candidate. So they just have an online letter of intent. There's also a link on our webpage for this. And again, you have to apply through the Apply on the Fly event, and they will actually come to our school. They did come to our school the first year. Of course, during the pandemic, they had it virtual. I don't know, what the plan is for next year. You can apply with the letter of intent at any time. It's always open because you have to indicate when you're looking to transfer, graduate and transfer. Again, everybody's kind of looking for someone who's been at the school and give them about a year. In the beginning, ECU was taking people if you only have a semester left, but they've quickly changed that. And so they're also looking for about a year at JCC. So, if you don't want to do it the first year because you're trying to figure out whether you like school at all, or you're not sure what college you want to go to, then you have about the first year to figure that out, and you can apply in your spring semester if you're have more of an idea of where you want to go. Again, you have to graduate with a 2.5 GPA, cumulative GPA. And I will tell you that these schools are very particular, because we had a student who was a 2.48 or something like that for her cumulative. And we were like, look, this is the math. You need to get straight A's in order to get you over 2.5. And she was really struggling, trying to absorb the fact that she had to get straight A's that last semester to go off to the program. And they told her, if you don't have a 2.5, then we rescind your, application. You've done everything and that's fine, but these are the requirements of the program. And so she unfortunately didn't make it. So she had to make some different plans, but they are very particular about you complying with the requirements of the program. So it's not a try kind of thing. It's like you have to have a 2.5 when you graduate. You have to have a 3.0 for NC State. Questions, comments? Okay, our next school is Fayetteville State University, and they have a slightly different approach. They do have the letter of intent, but their program is called the $10,000 online degree. And so again, select community colleges were invited to partner with them. And their program is different because there's only select majors that you can pursue at Fayetteville State. And so you do not have to just be college transfer. One of their online majors is for fire management. And so you can be in our fire program, go through this program and transfer. And so the $10,000 is basically what they're saying, that you will pay no more than $10,000 out of pocket between the two schools to finish your degree at FSU. So if they need to give you a scholarship of $3,000, so out of pocket, you are paying no more than $10,000 for your online degree. And so it's a good fit for students who maybe want to stay at home and just do a completely online program. It's a good fit for students who are not solely in college transfer. There's some other programs like business administration and social work and so forth that are with the online program. So it does not give you the full range of programs at FSU. The $10,000 online is only select programs that are offered 100% online. And they have a letter of intent, again, on the website link that goes from dual admission to FSU's website, and you just fill out, and it's the same kind of process. It puts you into a database and they start contacting you. You kind of indicate what major you want, and you have people from that college who contact you or that program to contact you. And then when you're almost the semester that you're going to graduate from JCC, you contact them to complete their full application. And then as long as you graduate with the 2.5 as well, then you can seamlessly transfer over to FSU. So our final program is called Aggie Plus, and they just came on board with us right before COVID. So at North Carolina A&T, and it's the same kind of setup with the letter of intent. And then you complete a college transfer degree. So they require only college transfer degrees. And then you can complete the in North Carolina A&T application and transfer to the school when you graduate. So there's no application for like FSU and North Carolina A&T and UNCW until you're ready to graduate from JCC. And then you just simply complete the regular application, but they all give you a fee waiver, so you do not have to pay for that application, which is huge, which is, a great opportunity for students not to have to incur that cost. They also have a new scholarship portion where they're giving a full ride scholarship. It's called Aggie Scholars to A&T. It's kind of separate, but you can be an Aggie Plus and then be eligible for the full ride scholarship as well. And that also came from GlaxoSmithKline. So clearly that organization is very interested in supporting the education of transfer students to senior institutions, and we appreciate that from them. Okay, so that's all of the schools and their general information. We do have a program that we're, livening up, trying to bring back to life because of the pandemic, but called Dual. And so you may hear from an advisor if your GPA slips below the required the requirement of your program. So once you're in these dual admission programs, we contact you, we send you reminders. I mean, the school is going to be sending you reminders, but sometimes they say, hey, the students are not responding. Can you remind them? So we'll send something through your JCC email. But basically, if something's going on and you have had a bad semester, we just want to talk with you and say, what's the plan? What can we do to help you have a better semester in the spring? Maybe you were really aggressive and took too many classes. You took 20 credit hours and that was way too much because you worked, and then it all fell apart and, you got some bad grades. Maybe you took too many classes that are hard altogether, which is really, challenging, and maybe you didn't take the advisor's advice and you took calculus and chemistry and, literature and all, these classes that have a lot of work, and it was a little bit more than you anticipated. All we try to do is to help you come up with a strategy to get yourself back on track. And a lot of times we will literally run the math for you, the GPA, and say, okay, these are the grades you need to have in the spring to bring your GPA up, like we did with that other young lady. Unfortunately, the GPA calculator said you needed straight A's in order to bump you over 2.5. And so, we try to make sure that you have a plan. If you had a less than stellar semester, that you have a plan going into the next. And if you need to get some information or workshop on time management, if you're struggling with your organizational skills, if you have some kind of, personal stuff that's happening, we have resources and support for all of that at JCC. And all you need to do is reach out to us. So sometimes we will be proactive and reach out to you because we see, a grade report. But if you seem like you're fine, but you're really not, you can reach out to us and we'll do all that we can to support you. We cannot, though, read your mind. So if we see you in the hallway and I'm like, how are you doing? And you say, fine, I'm literally going to believe you. And so if you're not fine, you need to speak up and ask for the help. And we're more than willing to give you that.
Ms. Dixon, we have a question in the chat. Erin would like to know if you could be part of more than one program at the same time. So if you could be part of C3 and Pirate Promise.
Excellent. We actually do have students who do that. They kind of cast a wide net. These are not, contracts or anything like that. There is a moment when you are probably going to have to make a decision because these programs also have requirements of you. So you got to meet with an advisor every single semester. So you may be like, oh my gosh, I'm meeting with, I have to make appointments with 2 different people plus my regular JCC advisor. But, in the beginning, we have students, when they're applying, they may apply to a couple of different ones just to, cast a wide net. And then eventually they make a choice that they're still in, they're going to pursue just this one, the C3. It kind of ends up like they just start going to more events at one school, or they connect with the advisor and then they're like, well, I'm just going to stick with C3. And I ask them to, are you sure? Because then I'll inform the other program. And sometimes they're like, well, wait one more semester so I can be absolutely sure. But obviously there's a point when you're going to go off to college and you're going to the senior institution and you're going to make that decision. You'll be forced to make that decision. But none of the letters of intent are legally binding. They're just simply like, hey, I'm interested in you. Give me, your information. And because, there's no cash output from the student, it's easy to kind of apply to different things. Okay, so as I talked about, we have some dedicated people in our Student Success Center that assist us with dual admission. We will ask you to meet with our academic support specialist in the Academic Skills Center to have that conversation about what happened, what's the plan for next semester. We don't want you to feel like you're on your own, because our goal is the same as yours. We want you to get to the senior institution. We have generally an orientation for students who are in our dual admission programs, just to kind of go over this stuff and to say, hey, it's part of, our quote unquote contract with you, that you let us know how we need to support you. That's your part of the partnership, that you have to talk to us and let us know what you need. And our part is to make sure that you have all the information and support to be successful. So that's pretty much our dual admission program. I have to update my little logo. It is a phenomenal program. It is a phenomenal program. I mean, if I had this when I was in high school, it's just unbelievable. And I will really sing the praises of especially NC State and ECU, and UNCW is really had some big plans, but then the pandemic happened. So I really feel like when we start in fall, they're going to be raring to go with visits and events on their campus for the Pathway to Excellence students. So I am excited that students want to take advantage of it. I haven't met one single student that said they regret doing this. They're all like, oh, I'm done, I'm off. We take pictures with the pennant when they're done. We've had, students just be so grateful to the senior institution and their advisors. We electronically send your transcript. So when you're sitting with the NC State, we don't do this for ECU, but we do this for NC State. When you're sitting with your advisor, they bring up your Unity account. So you have an NC State Unity account, and you can see all your transfer courses that were uploaded from that semester. And it goes through like your graduation checklist. So you can just literally see that you're getting closer to graduating from NC State as you take classes at JCC, and then you see all the classes that you will be taking at NC State. So we try to look at it as an opportunity for you to really grow and expand yourself. And then of course, again, our goal is to get you off to the senior institution and, do the things that you want to do and finish up your bachelor's degree. So any last minute questions about dual admission? If you have not put your name on the student interest form on our webpage, please do that. That's how you get special, direct marketing from us about events like this. I also send it to counselors, and so you may have gotten it, as a remind or something like that. We try to really get it out because it's so phenomenal, and I would really like to have more applications. And it's such a phenomenal program that I'm always trying to talk about it and get the information out to students.
Claudia would like to know who she can get in touch with to get some help with the C3 application.
So what do you need help with? If you need help with your story, Mrs. Baker right here, who's talking, is actually over the whole English department. Not your story.
Yeah, Claudia, we'd be happy to help you with your essay.
I will give you a tip that probably the thing that holds people up the most, even for our JCC application, is that daggone residency that you and your parents have to complete. I think they've made it slightly easier, but you have to have that residency code that has confirmed through another application that you are a North Carolina resident. You cannot get into the C3 any of these programs unless you are a North Carolina resident. I think they changed the law, so if you graduate from a North Carolina high school, that automatically it gives you like a simpler application, but that will be on NC State and ECU. They're going to ask for that code. So just make sure you've kind of completed that. And you have to do that for JCC's application. I have to really drive home the point that you cannot do this unless you come to JCC. That is your pathway. You come to JCC, finish your associate's degree, and then you transfer to the senior institution. So people have thought you can go straight from high school, but you can't. It's through a community college.
Okay, so the chat is blowing up with questions.
Yay.
All right, so let's take a look. Whitney would like to know, what if you wanted to change your major at the university?
That is fine. You simply inform your academic advisor that you have changed your major, and they will talk you through what changing your major may mean. So it may mean that you were really close and would have finished in 4 years, but now you changed your major and you took the wrong math, or you'll have to take all these extra classes, and so maybe you'll be there for 5 years. You have to add a year on. So your academic advisor at any of the universities will go over that with you so that you're making an informed choice.
Okay, our next question is, I will not be transferring to one of these schools until fall of 2022. From my understanding, I can go ahead and apply to the program?
Yeah, so if you're coming to JCC starting this fall for the following year, fall and spring, you're absolutely eligible because you have a year of JCC left to do. So you can apply again to NC State up until June 1st. Now that would be your only stop, because that would make it a full year. Other people, if you have, you're going to be at JCC for almost the full 2 years, you probably have a couple of different opportunities to apply. If you don't want to do it the first semester, you could do it in the spring for the schools, and the ones that have the letter of intent, you can kind of do it anytime during the 2 years. But if you have 1 more year to finish before you transfer to whichever one of those schools you want to go to, yes, you can apply this fall. Or if it's NC State, you need to apply before June 1st, and then you will start in the fall.
Okay, thank you. Can the intent form be sent to UNCW through email?
Yes, it can. It's electronic, and my understanding is once you complete it, you hit submit and it goes to their system. So you don't have to print out anything.
Perfect. Tiffany would like to know, how do we get our advisor to sign the Pathway to Excellence at UNCW?
So you actually have the old form, which was paper. It was a PDF that you had to print out and sign, which we will do. But you would have to scan it and then send it in, save it as a PDF and send it in to me, and I'll get an academic, or I could sign it as the academic advisor, and we'll send it to the transfer admissions director. I literally just did that this afternoon, and I said, I'm sorry, she had the paper, because she's like, we have it online. So Tiffany, I could also send you the link. It's on our webpage for the new fillable online that goes directly to UNCW. Either one is fine. The transfer admissions officer took my scan for the other student.
All righty. And then Abby has another question about UNCW. She says the deadline is May 1st. So can I go ahead and apply even though I won't attend the school until fall of 2022?
So the deadline you're talking about a regular freshman admissions, but you're not going to be a regular freshman admission. You're going to be a transfer admission. So your deadline is whenever you're almost done at JCC. So you can do it in fall because it's not an application. It's only a letter of intent that you will apply later. And when you are in your last semester before you graduate, that's when you will ask UNCW, or they will probably tell you, because you would have put that on your letter of intent, that, hey, I think you're getting ready to graduate. Do you want to do apply on the fly? And that's when you do your official UNCW application. So the May 1st is for regular freshman students, but that you're not going to be a regular freshman unless you choose to do that. But if you're going to be a regular freshman, you're not in Pathway to Excellence. These programs are all for students who are coming to JCC and will become transfer students.
Perfect. Thank you. This can be really confusing.
It really can. It's not if you want to be a regular freshman. And, you know, we actually have a lot of students from NC State that got deferred. So now they're like, oh my God, can I do C3 and come to JCC? And it's not actually the fix for that, but there's actually no rule that you can't do that.
Ms. Dixon, we have another question. Do you think any more North Carolina schools will be joining our dual admission program?
You know, again, because it's about, you know, where the geography, like the proximity that we are to a school. I mean, I would love for App State to do it because that's a popular school. The private schools have not seemed to get on board as much. We do have a sort of dual admission with Western Governors for their online program. But you know, I don't know if schools where they don't see, because they run reports. And so if like hardly anyone from JCC goes to UNC Pembroke, then they don't necessarily feel like they need to do a partnership. But if they have, you know, I don't even know what the community college is near Pembroke, but, you know, I would love UNC Greensboro, but, you know, they tend to go to the Guilford, is Guilford in Greensboro, Guilford Tech.
Guilford
So that's,
Tech. Mhm.
yeah, Guilford Tech is like a feeder for their school. So they probably have one with Guilford Tech. But, you know, but North Carolina A&T, they're in Greensboro too, and they're doing it. So it just depends on how wide of a net that the senior institution wants to cast. I hope we
Thank
get
you.
more schools.
5 schools is a lot.
Yeah, 5 schools is a lot. Any other questions? Okay, well, that's right at 7:30. So I'm very excited that we were able to stay on time. So if anyone has any questions that you didn't want to put in the chat, or you have, you know, some situation that you want to chat with me about, my email address was on the flyer. My email address is on our dual admission webpage. I email students all day long and their parents. So it's not a problem whatsoever to shoot me an email with some questions, and I'd be happy to help you if I can. So if we don't have anything else, I am going to say thank you. I'm going to stop sharing because I like to see my face. See all the people and your names and so forth. So I really appreciate everyone coming out at 6:30. I hope I answered most of your questions, and thank you to members of my department who are here to support you. And that's how we roll. We are a whole team that is here to support our students in college transfer. So I hope to see you soon, and please let me know if you have any other questions. Good night. Thank you to Mrs. Baker for being our chat champion.
Anytime.
And thank you to Dr. Angelina Kaniz, because those of you who are signed up for our dual admission database, she sent out the flyers talking about the program. So we appreciate her helping me out with all that. And thank you to Mr. Brickman, because I just like Mr. Brickman and he's awesome. Okay, everyone have fun. See you later.